Hello, my name is Draconic Celestial, and today I will be going over the entire Fatal Frame series. I'll let you know the best places to start, how difficult the games are, and more in today's video. Whether you simply like the outfits or just a big fan of horror games, this video will help you get into the Fatal Frame series. With all that out of the way, let's get started.
My big brother. He was so sweet and kind. He was the only one I could open up to about these visions. After our mother died, he was my only family.
So this is Himuro Mansion.
Fatal Frame is about a girl named Miku who goes to search for her missing brother. He went missing at Himuro Mansion because he was looking for another group of people that had gone missing. Something might be wrong with this mansion. I'm sure it's nothing. When Miku enters the mansion, she finds an old camera. This is going to be the main chunk of the gameplay. The camera obscura will be how you attack ghosts. When you switch to the camera mode, you can take pictures of the ghosts, and eventually this will make them turn into particles. You'll be in first person during these sections compared to the previous fixed camera angles. For extra damage, make sure to let the camera charge up, and when a glowing circle appears, take your shot. If it turns red, you can take a 0 shot, which is a critical hit. Ghosts will speed up and teleport more as you progress through the game, so make sure you really learn how to use your camera. You can also use the camera to find hidden items and doors. When the light in the corner glows or your controller starts vibrating, check the camera and you might find something new. If it glows blue, there's something nearby, and if it's orange, you are right next to it. This applies to both hidden items and ghosts, so be careful. The only issue I found with the camera is that it swaps your move controls. You'll change the camera view with the left stick and move yourself with the right when in camera mode. Swapping between the camera and regular often threw me off, but I can see why they chose to do it. After fighting ghosts, you'll gain points which you can use to upgrade the camera. You can get extra abilities and up the stats to make it easier to stop ghosts. You will also be collecting film. There are 4 different types that vary in rarity and damage. Be careful about how often you use the camera because the film is limited. There are also healing items you can find and use to replenish your HP when the ghosts jump you. Outside of the camera gameplay, you'll be wandering the mansion and solving small puzzles to progress. Be prepared for lots of backtracking. There are lots of notes and tapes that you will find, and this will be where the bulk of your main story is. Make sure to read through everything you find to fully understand what's going on. One other issue you might run into is that it's really easy for Miku to get stuck on random small things while running. Try moving left and right to get unstuck, but be prepared for that annoyance while you're running from ghosts. This is a solid place to start in the series, but it is very difficult. There's no easy mode, so it can be very frustrating at times. It's the first game, and it will give you a good sense of what the rest of the series will be like. The greatest difficulty, though, is in finding a way to play it, which is why I wouldn't say this is my #1 recommendation for where to start in the series. It's a fun game, but if you are looking to own it, it's very hard to acquire. It's only available on PS2 and Xbox and costs like $80 to $100. The game includes 2 endings, but there is an extra 3rd ending in the Xbox version. You'll find that in most of these games, every time they're re-released or ported, they add new endings. I recommend emulating it if you can and just praying this game gets remade like the second game Crimson Butterfly did.
One sister kills the other.
Why didn't you kill me back then? Mayu! I was waiting. Kill me. Kill me. Mayu! Kill me. Kill me. We'll be together. Where is my sister?
Don't look in there!
Fatal Frame 2, Crimson Butterfly.
In Fatal Frame 2, Crimson Butterfly, you play as Miu. Miu and her twin sister Mayu accidentally wander into
The Lost Village.
They'll say it a lot so you don't forget. They ended up there because Mayu decided to follow some crimson butterflies, trademark. The twins must find a way to escape the lost village. You do not need to play Fatal Frame 1 to understand this game. The game plays very similarly to Fatal Frame 1 with a few small differences. The issue where you could run into things and get stuck easily is now fixed. The lost village works as a hub town in this game. You'll be going to different houses, but you will always return to the lost village once you're done exploring a house. Later in the game, it will repopulate items when you return to the houses. If you take the time to re-explore, you can stock up on items. The combat now has some upgrades as well. Whenever you hit a 0 shot, the ghost will be stunned, and if timed correctly, you can take lots of pictures to do more damage. While the combat can still be frustrating at times, it has improved since the first game. Ghosts do less damage overall, and there are more healing items. Crimson Butterfly is also the first game in the series to have an easy mode, which can help a lot as well. However, the game focuses a lot on 0 shots because regular attacks just don't do that much damage. This can get kind of annoying when you're waiting for an attack, but they take forever, so you move in closer and they hit you before you can take a 0 shot, and now you're on 1 health. Sometimes during fights, Mayu will be with you. She's great, but can get in your way a lot of the time. She'll block you mid-fight, she can get attacked very easily, and she'll even block you when you're just trying to walk around. Luckily, she has a tendency to wander off chasing butterflies, so you won't have to deal with her for the majority of the game. Okay, quick side note, I just beat the game and I loved it, but holy shit, these ghosts were rage baiting me. I genuinely crashed out a few times, especially at the last fight where I died and it sent me back to a 15-minute walk dodging blind ghosts before I got back again. I played the game on easy mode and I took advantage of the emulator I was using and its save states. I don't know how people play this on PS2 or on a harder difficulty. You can say it's a skill issue, I know it's a skill issue, but damn, it was frustrating. I still really recommend the game though. The game has a great story as well as multiple endings if you want to replay it. The original has 3 endings and the Xbox version adds 1 more ending, and the Wii remake adds 2 more endings. Overall, Fatal Frame 2 has improved the gameplay compared to the first game. This game recently got another remake that I will be covering later in the video. Fatal Frame 2 is available on PS2 and Xbox, but the game can be very expensive. The game also got a Wii remake, but it was only ever released in Japan and the EU, which means that all the new voice acting is British. The Wii remake has some interesting stuff, plus the endings that are specific to that version, and it tries to rely a bit more on the motion controls. It's not as good, and it's hard to get. I recommend emulating the game or trying its newest remake, but I'll get more into that later. Fatal Frame 3, The Tormented, follows Rei, who has recently lost her fiancé in a car crash. In her dream, she enters the Manor of Sleep, where she must find out more about this folk tale before the tattoo she gets from a ghost spreads over her whole body. The game connects a bit more directly to the last 2 games. Miku from Fatal Frame 1 will be your roommate, as well as a playable character later on. Mayu from Crimson Butterfly will be mentioned in note. While you can enjoy this game on its own, I think it works better if you played or at least know what happened in the first 2 games. But if you are unsure about whether you want to play the series, this will give you a good idea of what the entire PS2 trilogy is like. The gameplay has improved significantly compared to previous games. The balance has been improved so that you do a fair amount of damage and ghosts don't feel like they do too much damage back. The third playable character, Kei, does not have this improvement. He has at least 2 ghosts that are unkillable, and you'll have to rely a bit more on hiding than fighting. This makes exploring with him extremely frustrating. I got to a point where no matter how much I ran and I thought I found a hiding place, suddenly she was right next to me, and I had to stop playing because with no way to get her to leave me alone, I couldn't do anything but just run constantly. With the other 2 characters, I had a much easier time fighting ghosts than I did in previous games. If Kei had the same gameplay, the game would be perfect. Outside of the mostly new and improved survival horror, the game also adds some other new features. The survival horror levels take place in the Manor of Sleep, which you can only enter when you are asleep. When Rei is awake, you'll be able to do a few things in her house. It functions similarly to the apartment in Silent Hill for the room. First off, she will write in her notebook.
Let me write this down. I'll write that down. All I said was so up. Alright, that down, poo. Stop writing shit down!
Make sure to check this often because important story details will be written down here. Compared to previous games, Fatal Frame 3 includes more cutscenes. Notes still play an important role though, so don't forget to read to understand everything. Downstairs you can find a room where you can develop different photos you took in the mansion. After you develop them, you can give them to Miku. Miku will spend the day investigating and then give you her research the next day. If she can't find anything, then you can also look for books in Yu's room to get more info. You'll also receive letters with tapes that you can listen to. These tapes can be played in Ray's room. There's also a cute cat in the house, but you cannot pet it, which greatly upsets me. You should be allowed to pet the cat. The game includes 2 different endings that you can unlock. With the easier gameplay and great story, I would say that this is a great place to start. Unfortunately, the game is only on PS2 and incredibly expensive. If you really want to play these first 3 games, you will most likely have to emulate them. That's what I did, but I'm sorry to my fellow game collectors out there, as this is a really expensive series to try and collect physically.
誰も覚えていないことは存在しないことになるのだろうか。私には小さい頃の記憶がない。私がいた島のこと、住んでいた家のこと、そして父のことも。私たちが神隠しにあった以前のことは何も思い出せない。一緒に見つかった4人もあの時のことは覚えていない。かすかに思い出せるのは一つの旋律。
Fatal Frame 4, Mask of the Lunar Eclipse follows 3 new characters. Having 3 playable characters has become the new norm for this series since the last game. The game is not super connected to the previous game, so you can play this game without knowing any of the previous titles. There's a good amount of story to uncover in this game. The story is well done, but the location you explore is small, so you'll be retreading a lot of the area while switching between all of the characters. There are 2 different endings you can get based on the difficulty level you play on. Easy and Normal has one ending, while Hard and Nightmare is the other ending. The gameplay has changed quite a bit due to this being a Wii title. It relies a lot on the motion controls since they were popular at the time. The motion controls also meant they had to change the camera angle from fixed to over the shoulder. The game has also received an HD remaster that's available on modern platforms and doesn't require motion controls. There are pros and cons to both of these versions. The Wii version is better with its regular movement outside of the camera gameplay. You tilt the Wii remote to look for different items. The items will only appear when you shine your flashlight on them. They struggled with putting this into the remaster and it's harder to move. The camera also struggles with following the characters more in the modern versions, which can make it hard while running from ghosts during battles. The camera gameplay is much improved in the modern remaster compared to the Wii version. Since you'll be spending most of your time fighting ghosts, this is a big plus. There's also a mechanic added where you have to hold a button to slowly try to pick something up. This happens for every single object and can get annoying pretty quickly. Like the previous games, there are some difficulties when it comes to officially getting your hands on a copy. The Wii version was only ever released in Japan. You'll most likely need a fan translation if you want to play that version. The remaster was released on all modern consoles digitally. Physical copies of the games were not released in every country, but they do have multiple languages, so you can still get a copy from another country and play in your preferred language. However, you cannot use DLC as that will be region locked based on where you get your copy of the game from. Stores like Play Asia are a good way to get your hands on a physical copy. If you aren't a collector or don't mind digital, then this game will be easy to get. Fatal Frame 4 is a lot more ease of access with the digital version, so it's not a terrible place to start. The remastered game is available on Switch, PS4 and 5, PC, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S. Fatal Frame 5, Maiden of the Blackwater, is the newest main installment in the series, not counting the Crimson Butterfly remake. Once again, you follow 3 main characters. I'm going to start by saying that while the story as a whole is not terrible, there are certain aspects that are problematic. I won't go into it because of spoilers, but I'll just say there's some Sweet Home Alabama shit in this. Be warned. The game also has more fan service that just doesn't add to the plot. This, along with some connections to Fatal Frame 1, which I recommend playing before this game, I advise against this being your first game in the series. Some other small cons of this game are that it can run a bit long. It also adds these mission screens at the end of each chapter which break up the flow. However, the rest of the gameplay is actually kind of fun. The game was originally made for Wii U, and the use of that system's controller is actually really smart. You use the Wii U gamepad as the camera. You hold it up and move it around to take pictures of the ghosts, making it a lot more immersive. Unfortunately, Wii U copies of the game are either Japanese versions or very expensive versions from other countries. This game also got a remaster, and you can use some motion control still if your controller supports that. You simply tilt the viewfinder that you see on the screen and move the rest around normally. It still makes for a fun game mechanic and an alternative to the Wii U version. The game also has a few new features. After you beat a ghost, if you run up and touch it, you can get cutscenes to learn more about how it dies. Since water is a big theme, there's a meter on the bottom that fills up the longer you are in water, and if it gets full, you'll get attacked more. But this isn't a super big issue you'll really have to worry about. If you get lost, you can click a button and a ghostly figure will show you where to go next. The 2 girl characters play similarly to previous games, but the male character plays a lot like FNAF. You'll be checking cameras around the house to make sure ghosts don't attack the girls while they sleep. Once you see a ghost in a girl's room, you'll have to run over and get rid of it. I don't recommend starting with this game, but if you already like the series and just want more games to play, I still think it's worth checking out despite all its faults. Like the 4th game, you'll have to order a Japanese copy if you want it physically, but it will play in English. It's a lot easier to get digitally though. The game is available on PC, Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. What is this? Mayu? The Lost Village.
The newest game in the series is Fatal Frame 2 Remake. It is a very faithful adaptation of the second game with some new changes. I'm going to start by saying this is probably the best place to start in the series due to it being new and easy to access. It also has a free demo you can try if you just want to get a taste of the game and series before you spend any money on it. The plot of this remake is the same with no major changes made. It adds 2 new endings that you can get while also including the first 4 endings from previous versions. It only excludes the 2 new endings that are the Wii exclusive. The gameplay is the same, but it adds some new features. There are different camera upgrades and abilities you can unlock throughout the game. The camera includes features from Maiden of Blackwater, so the more ghosts and points you have in the frame, the more damage you will do. There's also a willpower meter you'll have to keep track of, which can help with the knockdown resistance. There is a dodge mechanic. The game also adds a list of missions to help you keep track of different notes you can find, without ruining the exploration of the game. You can now hold hands with your twin sister. Just make sure she stays next to you and is less likely to get in your way.
Grab my hand. Grab my hand. Now we wait. We wait for that.
Now we go. Keep holding my hand. Keep holding my hand. Keep moving.
Outside of these new changes and additions, I think this remake is very faithful to the original and looks amazing. It's available on PS5, PC, Switch 2, and Xbox Series X. This wraps up all of the main games in the series. Next, we'll go into the series spin-offs. Unlike series I've covered in the past, the franchise actually doesn't have that much spin-off content. Fatal Frame has a single spin-off game on the 3DS. Spirit Camera, The Cursed Memoir, is an AR-styled game where you take photos of ghosts using the 3DS camera. It's an interesting concept in theory, but it loses its horror in practice. The ghosts being in your room can feel kind of goofy. Honestly, the minigame where it has a 3D environment, but you still get to move the camera around, works better. It feels a bit more like the Wii U concept, where the camera use just feels more interactive rather than breaking the horror immersion. The game comes with a little book that you'll be interacting with. You'll take photos and turn to certain pages in the book throughout the game. The AR interaction requires that you have a lot of light for it to work. This can really take you out of the horror. The story feels cheesy when compared to the mainline titles. It's the cheapest game in the series, but I would recommend prioritizing the other games before trying to play this one. There was also a mobile game released only in Japan in the early 2000s. You can find some footage of it online, but there's not a lot of information on it. I think this game is mostly lost to time, but if anyone has more information on what this game is, please let me know in the comments. Fatal Frame also has a single movie. I'm going to start by saying the movie doesn't really have a lot to do with Fatal Frame. Its official title is Zero, a curse affecting only girls. It's not a bad movie, but outside of the curse, ghosts, and like one shot of the camera obscura, it doesn't have anything else to do with the series. I also don't think it's particularly scary either. The movie does cover some themes about lesbian relationships, which I found interesting, but it's also just very slowly paced, so it was kind of hard to watch. If you want a Japanese gay horror movie, check it out, but don't go in expecting something similar to Fatal Frame. For books, there is one original manga series that was released only in Japan called Fatal Frame Shadow Priestess. This checks all the boxes, but has too many characters and can be a bit rushed at times. It's still a fun manga though, and worth checking out. There are some guidebooks and other art books as well, but nothing else with new story content outside of that one manga series. And that covers everything the Fatal Frame series has to offer. I hope this guide has helped you get a start on the series or find some new Fatal Frame content to enjoy while we wait for new titles. Let me know in the comments below what series you want me to cover next. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Your support means a lot to me and I would love to make more videos for y'all. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye!